Hey guys, what's happening? So we are back for Ultimate Wolverine, issue 5, which introduces us to Ultimate Sabretooth. And this guy is nothing like what I expected, based on the pieces of Logan's memory that we've seen so far, and I'm liking it a lot. So with that said, if you're enjoying these videos, do be sure to drop a like, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and don't forget to hit that bell up top to get all notifications. Alright, so coming back, this continues in Rasputingrad, in the Eurasian Republic, which is ran by the Maker's Council members Colossus, Magic, and Omega Red. And as soon as we go into this, we pick right up with Ultimate Sabretooth, who runs a bar here. But at this time, the bar is closing, so he's telling everyone goodnight as they leave. And he's just like, thank you, come back again tomorrow. Which already is a huge departure from what most might have expected. But as soon as these people leave and he turns off the sign and locks up, we quickly find out that he's actually working with the opposition by way of using this bar as a cover-up to smuggle mutants out of the Eurasian Republic. So after everyone leaves, he tells these two kids, Artie and Leech, that they can come out. And it's right here where we get a moment that has a lot of cohesive elements, with it referencing some of the stuff we already know, while teasing what's around the corner. Because when Sabretooth tells them that their driver will be here soon, we know from what we saw in issue 3 that the opposition is short on drivers. And not too long ago, they recruited a new driver, who for us turned out to be a very familiar face. But while they're waiting here, Sabretooth tells them that he took the liberty of making them some food, since it's gonna be a long ride with no stops, not till they clear the border. So he tells them here, this should last, hearty soup, good for the soul they say. But they also say a lot of things. So the kids dig in, and after that he makes them a Shirley Temple, though he only has enough to make one. But it really doesn't matter because the kids are happy to have it either way. But at the same time, this is where the story more or less teases who these kids are for anyone who might not have known just at a glance, with Leech having the ability to negate mutant powers, and Artie being able to project a person's thoughts or memories. Because for a moment here, Artie uses his powers on Sabretooth in hopes of getting him to tell them another story, which I imagine for the kids is a lot of fun, because any story you tell, Artie's just gonna make it a movie. So Sabretooth lets them know that he'll tell them a story, but first he's gotta take out the trash, which at first just goes down as normal as you might imagine. But while he's outside, he sees a plane fly overhead that he recognizes to be one of the military planes that come through doing routine scans. So he quickly races back inside to tell Leech and Artie to get back under the floor. And he tells them here it won't be long, I promise. The driver will be here in no time, but he just needs them to get out of sight to be on the safe side. But as soon as the kids go back under the floor, he hears someone trying to come through the door. And whoever this person is, they're just rattling that door handle like crazy. So Sabretooth just tells Leech and Artie to stay quiet while he goes to the door to check out and see who it is. And it's one of those things where it's like, even though he's expecting the driver, all of this still comes off as odd. Because when he opens the door, at first he's given the sign of it just being a false alarm. Because as soon as he looks outside, nobody's there. With the exception of like this homeless person who's staggering across the street, who's just like, door's locked, bar's closed. So on the surface, it would seem like that guy was just trying to come to the bar. So he came to the door, tried the handle, it was locked, so he walked off. But when Sabretooth shuts the door and he locks it back, he turns around and he takes a sniff. And right away he realizes that someone else is in the bar. So he follows his nose, which leads him back to the kitchen area. And as soon as he takes a look, he's just like, you. So the rumors are true. Back from the dead, huh, Logan? Smells off. Something about you's changed. Smells almost rotten. Maybe you really are dead. Then Sabretooth's like, nah, not dead. But you ain't yourself. Are you? And right there, as soon as Wolverine pops his claws, Sabretooth's like, well. I'd say you're not yourself at all. And again, this just plays out so well because of what we know going into this. Because with us now learning about Sabretooth working with the opposition, we know that him and Logan have quite the history together. Especially with Sabretooth mentioning that he's got quite a few stories about him and Logan that he could tell Artie and Leech. So now with him seeing Logan as the Winter Soldier, making his way here and attacking him, this just has Sabretooth like, I know you. I know Logan, and I know Logan would be too smart to try that on me. You're him, but you're not him. An empty vessel. Butchers. They messed with your brain, didn't they? They took their little fingers, their tools, and they poked and pulled, just like they did with, and just before he can finish that sentence, Wolverine cuts his arm off. Because, we can't have Sabretooth out here telling us too much about the Ultimate Universe, so it works as a way to keep some of the details mysterious. But even with Sabretooth's arm cut off, it starts to grow back rather quickly. And he goes on to more or less tell Wolverine here, I don't know why they got you in a mask, but I'm gonna rip it off your face and find out. Cause again, Sabretooth knows this is Logan, and they have history. And just based on what we know about Logan's history from Ultimate Universe 1 year in, when Logan was initially taken in by Dr. Prostovic, this was following an attack where the opposition was trying to free mutants, where Logan was severely injured, which is how they were able to get their hands on him. And I can only imagine at the time this was one of many missions that Logan had been on trying to free other mutants, where Sabretooth may have been right there with him. And if not that mission specifically, than undoubtedly many others. And this we know by way of a flashback that we get here, where we see both Wolverine and Sabretooth in their opposition uniforms, sharing a drink and having a conversation by the campfire. And the badge or logo that they're wearing, we mainly know because it showed up a few times, either on flyers or whatever, to let people know that they're about mutant liberation. And the logo's like two fists crossing each other, kind of like an X, but this welcomed both humans and mutants alike, coming together to help other mutants to free them from Eurasian captivity and get them to safety. But in this flashback, we're not really told what specific mission that they're on, and that's not really so much what's important about it, because it's more so what they're talking about here. Because it was at this time when Wolverine told Sabretooth, like, hey, I want you to promise me one thing, if they ever capture me. And it was right there where Sabretooth stopped him, like, they ain't gonna capture you. But Logan was like, no, I'm serious, Creed. And he tells him, I don't want to become one of them puppets, so I want you to promise me, you'll kill me. And at the time, Creed told him, that's a tall order coming from a fella with a healing factor that keeps death at arm's length. And as they're sharing this drink, we jump back and forth between the flashback and the present day, because Sabretooth remembers Logan telling him at the time how he knows it's going to be difficult, because they both have a crazy healing factor. But even still, he told Creed, I want you to promise me that. Find a way to make it happen. Make it permanent. We've seen what they've done, Creed. We know what they make us do to the folks we fought side by side with, died with. I ain't gonna walk away from this fire until I know I got your word. I've been fighting with you long enough to know you're good for it. You're bonded to your word and I want to know you'll do it. And back then Creed responded saying, well, if you want it, it's a deal, but it ain't gonna happen. And it's like, man, just seeing that flashback makes it even crazier to see these guys go at it now. Because we knew about the Eurasian Republic imprisoning mutants and using them as tools, but prior to Ultimate Wolverine, we never really heard the story about members of the opposition having to go up against their old friends. But even still, seeing these two guys go at it, it's crazy. Especially in a situation where it's like Sabretooth is the good guy, because he's the man of his word who cooks for kids and makes them Shirley Temples. But outside of that, and the man bun, but outside of that, this fight between Sabretooth and Wolverine, it is as visceral as you would expect, because Wolverine's getting plenty of slices in, while Sabretooth's throwing Wolverine all over the place, and it eventually comes to the point where Sabretooth is able to get that mask off. And when he does, he tells Logan, if I'm gonna kill you, I'm gonna look you in your face when I do it, run. And when he takes the mask off of Logan, dude looks like an absolute mindless animal. And even though we got a glimpse of what's going on inside his mind in the last issue, when he nearly regained control, we know on the outside this dude is insanely dangerous, because before you know it, he just leaps right at Sabretooth, sending his claws right through him, while biting out a piece of his throat, which I don't know if that's his tongue or what, that Wolverine just pulled out from the inside before he just spits it out. And this has Sabretooth to the point where it's like, okay, he needs a moment. And I'd even say with how all of this went down, that Sabretooth was holding back quite a bit. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. But then it's here where the driver shows up, and it's Black Widow. So she hits Wolverine with a dart and kicks him back, but we more or less knew that she was one of the opposition's only drivers because of what we saw back in issue 3 when she met up with Gambit and Kitty Pryde, so it makes sense for her to show up here and be one of the only drivers that they have available. And even with that said, this is one of the first times that we've seen her in action, even though we knew she was capable because of her history prior to joining the opposition. But with her helping out here, Sabretooth doesn't understand how Wolverine is knocked out, or why Wolverine's healing factor is suddenly not working. And that's where Leech kind of pokes his head up and he's like, yeah, that's me. I did that. Which again, throughout the course of this, is just a nice way to show what Leech and Artie are capable of. And following this, as Sabretooth helps to carry Wolverine out to the car, he tells Natasha, oh, I'm going with you. Because he wants to see everyone's face when they come through the door with this guy. So yeah, I can only imagine that it won't be too long before Logan gets his memories fully restored. And I wouldn't be surprised if Leech and Artie end up helping out in one way or another, because we already know Logan got so many memory movies locked away that they're probably gonna have to pay a subscription to see them all. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, do be sure to drop a like and let me know in the comments your thoughts about Ultimate Sabretooth. Because I'll tell you right now, this dude surprised me, because from what we've seen so far, he is the exact opposite of what I expected. But yeah, let me know what you guys were expecting before, as well as your first impressions now, and if you think Ultimate Wolverine could be the key to freeing Ultimate Phoenix, because that's going to be a real problem for Directorate X, even if she got to attack them sitting down. Though she could move her body with her mind, so there's that. And so now real quick, I want to give a special shout out to all the patrons. Thank you guys for all of your support. And for anyone who's new here, who wants more information on how to support the channel, I got a link below where you can go to patreon.com/dopespill. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and we'll do it again on the next one. Alright, later.